Well, we might be live now, so I'll just introduce us. Hi, my name is Beth Ienni, licensed therapist and food addiction recovery coach. And I'm joined by a recent graduate of my 8-week in-home rehab, and her name is Vickie. I'm so glad you could make it today, Vickie. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yep, you have a wonderful story to tell. You've made a lot of you've made a lot of great progress, and you've had a lot of big changes in just a matter of 8 short weeks. And a lot of the changes happened fairly early on into the process. So I really want people to hear what you were like before you met us and what you're like now, so they can understand the transformation. And again, if you're just joining us now live, my name is Beth Ienni. I'm a licensed therapist of 20 years and a food addiction recovery coach for 23 years. And we've helped a lot of people like Vickie go from feeling out of control to feeling in control in a matter of weeks. So I would love for Vickie to tell her particular individual story for you. So Vickie, what was it like for you before you started working with us?
Well, I was in a desperate situation because my doctor was on me about my health and that I needed to lose the weight, and I had tried everything underneath the sun to lose. And um, I just my relationship with food was out of control. Period. And I kept praying and praying that God would show me the right program to do. And I was flipping through Facebook and I saw the webinar and I thought, I've got to see what this is about. So I watched the webinar and I actually cried through the whole thing because I felt like for the first time in my life, somebody got it. Somebody understands that that yeah, just so that someone has got it, and I'm desperate and I need help. So I signed up for the program, and it's been the best thing that's ever happened for me.
Well, of course, I'm overjoyed to hear that, Vickie. And I think a lot of people would be interested to understand, just how many things you have tried and just what kind of medical problems your doctor was so worried about. Because I think a lot of people can relate to all of these things.
Yeah. Well, basically, heart failure runs in my family, and I have had some issues, and um, my blood pressure is way high, and I've been dealing with that for 5 or 6 years. And just to the point, and as far as trying everything, I've tried the B12 shots, I've tried the fasting, I've tried Nutrisystem, you name it, I've tried it. And matter of fact, I was thinking about going back to Nutrisystem when I ran across the webinar, and I'm so glad that I hadn't signed up. I mean, um, and I've, you know, I'll just be honest, I'm 64 and I want a few more years to live. And when the doctors are, basically scaring you that you need to do something, it's getting to the desperate point where you've got to do something. So,
Well, and it must be really frustrating because I know enough about you, Vickie, to know that you're a smart person, you're a caring person. You probably did try to make Nutrisystem work. You probably tried to make the other things work. So, I know you've shared before that you were pretty skeptical in some ways that there actually could be a solution, but you were just sort of desperate enough to give it a try, maybe. But can you share a little bit about that? How you were um, kind of skeptical that you could actually break free and not be miserable.
right. Yes, I would hear other people talk about different things, and I could never understand. And I was very skeptical. Well, I can't even say the word.
I love it.
Anyway, I was a skeptic, and I was scared even from the very first meeting because I kept thinking, "Oh, what if I made a mistake? What if? What if?" And I finally had to just tell myself, "Just relax. and it can't be a bad thing. And it wasn't. It was a good thing. And you know, that's issues of mine of not being able to trust, you know, sometimes just in trusting myself. And this time I was like, I took a deep breath and I took one big step, and I'm glad I did.
Well, so am I, Vicki. And I know that some in our group have said that you and everyone who starts is just are very, very brave, because often food addicts come to us after literally decades of failing. And so how can you trust yourself? How can you trust anybody to help you with that kind of track record? So I think it does take a faith, a mustard seed of faith. It takes maybe a
Hmm.
universal divine nudge, because
Right.
really, if you look at it just from a practical point of view, it doesn't really make any sense to believe in yourself or others at all. And so I just feel like it must take bravery and it must take faith
Faith.
to
Yeah.
actually give it another try.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm my biggest thing is let that mustard seed grow a little bit bigger, please.
Yep, yep. And I think we could all use more faith. We can all use more faith. So I think that's a great prayer for everyone to pray every day. Please let me have more faith, right? In so many
Hmm.
areas of life. But this one is huge because, like you said, this is life or death. A lot of people listening to us, they're in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s. It's time to stop messing around. It's easy to get hopeless and helpless as we get older. But the fact is, there's a lot to live for. And we all know that nowadays a 70-year-old can actually really be the new 50. That's not unreachable. We can be healthy at 70. And I'm glad you didn't give up on yourself.
Yeah. Me too.
So yeah, let's hear what it's like, because I understand. So when you first joined us, you were skeptical, you were afraid about your health and your future, you were out of control, and you had failed a whole bunch of times at a whole bunch of things. So
Hmm.
that's what you were like before. So what are you like now? I mean, it's been what is it, 9 weeks since we first met?
Uh,
Is that about it?
yeah. Well, my thinking is clearer. I'm not as emotional. Um, I mean, I still can be weepy, but I'm not like I was prior to. My emotions, I'm more even. Um, and my moods, I guess, are more even. My relationship with food has definitely changed. But then it's so much more than the food that it's kind of hard to explain. But I don't feel like I'm constantly thinking about, oh, what am I going to eat? What am I going to do? Kind of thing. And but mainly, I think for me, the biggest thing has been my mind and my mood, my reactions. Um, I feel better. I just feel good. I don't think I have felt this good in a long time, maybe ever. I don't know. I just, I feel good.
Well, I love that. And it doesn't surprise me. I know a lot of people will probably understand this. We start eating I guess you could even say, when we're in the womb, right? We're sort of feeding to some degree off of what our mothers are eating. And then as soon as we breastfeed, we're still eating what our mothers are eating. And then if we don't breastfeed, we're on the bottle. All of a sudden, now we're ingesting lots of substances from birth.
Hmm.
And so our whole bodies and brains from birth on, or even before, are actually being affected by the foods that we're eating. And that saying, you are what you eat, unfortunately holds true on every level, the physical and the mental.
Most definitely. Yep.
So there are people who are food addicts who literally have never had a day of mental clarity or physically feeling good.
Yeah. I might be one of those. So,
Yep. And it's so confusing too, isn't it, Victoria? Because the fact is, there are a lot of things that doctors and nutritionists would tell us to eat, that we
Mhm.
really as food addicts can't eat.
Right.
And so we have well-meaning people who are, maybe even family, friends, doctors, therapists, all kinds of people trying to get us to eat healthy, and they
Mhm.
don't really know how to help us. And we're not eating healthy for a food addict, and we're certainly not eating healthy for our individual food addiction.
Yes,
So
that's true. Yep.
so as a therapist, it's super exciting for me to see transformations this quickly, because I'm sure a lot of people out there struggle with mood issues and brain fog. And they're thinking, what do I got to do? Do I need more therapy? Do I need to take more medication? And of course, that's what most therapists are trained on. They may have a little information on eating disorders, but most of them eat well. Here's the problem. If you have training in eating disorders, that's exactly the opposite of what you need for food addiction. um, and and the fact is, food addiction is very, very specific. Therapists are not trained in it at all,
Mm.
so they're giving people the opposite advice, or they're helpless to help in any way. And so people are going to therapists and they're trying to figure out, why doesn't my brain work well? Why do I feel so crazy? Why am I not thinking clearly? Why am I so reactive? And
Mhm.
of course, the therapists are not trained in any of this, so they just can't help us. And it's just so gratifying as a therapist, because I went outside of the normal therapy curriculum and got that training. And I'm a recovered food addict myself. So I went ahead and got that training, and worked on a lot of people, to refine my thoughts on this. And now as a therapist, I see more mental health gains in the 8 week in home rehab than I've ever had in the 20 years working with mental health, just with quote, regular mental health stuff. Um, it's really, really gratifying how
Yes.
quickly people change.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah.
that's huge. That's huge. And so I love the fact that you're saying that that's the most important thing to you, because, um, the fact is, if life is just about, health issues and what we weigh, no one's going to stick with something like that. You're actually having more peace and more joy in your life.
Mhm. And that means a lot to me, you know, especially since I've struggled a lot in my life with depression. I think I see a big difference in that already. So,
Well, and that's so heartening. That's so heartening. Absolutely. So, you're killing a lot of birds with one stone. That's so efficient too, isn't it? Because you're
mhm.
dealing with your depression, but you're also dealing with the health fears. And so I'm wondering, do you feel like you have more mental clarity? That's awesome. And you're more even, and you're having that less food obsession, right? You're not
Yeah,
worrying about what to eat, which
right.
can be very draining.
Yep.
Also, there's a lot of low self-esteem when you fail and fail and fail and feel out of control. So I'm sure that helps you as well
Yes, most definitely. Yeah.
to feel better about that. Yeah. And and I love what you said about you're maybe less reacting. So how do you feel like that helps your relationships when you're less moody and less reactive?
Oh, I'm sure the people around me enjoy it. um, matter of fact, I think at times I've surprised them on, they thought maybe they were going to get one reaction and they didn't get that. They got another. So I definitely think it would help. It helps my relationships very much so. And I live close to my daughter and grandchildren, and that means a lot because you know you don't want you don't want to hurt people. You don't want to hurt um, by being snappy or whatever. So
And sometimes food addicts do need to learn to be a little more assertive and ask for what they need. And I think if you can think more clearly, that's easier. Do you find that that's true
yes,
too?
yes, most definitely.
And I think people appreciate that. They can't read our minds. And so lots of times
Well,
they don't know that they've hurt our feelings because we didn't say anything. And they don't know that they stepped on our toes because we didn't say anything. So it really can help relationships if you just know what you're feeling, can think
right.
clearly about it, ask for what you need. People are
Mhm.
like, okay,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and that helps.
that's true.
Yeah. And so, and do you feel a little bit less nervous about those health issues? Now, I know it's only been several weeks since we started, but have you noticed any concrete changes in your health, or is it really too soon because you haven't been back to the doctor?
Well, I haven't been back to my doctor like for blood working yet. I go in a few weeks, so I'm anxious about that. But I have gone to the doctor just, and I've been weighed, and I have lost. So, but to me, it's not about losing the pounds even. Where, I mean, I'm happy that I've lost, but it's not it's not just all about the pounds. There's so much more to it than that.
And it's true. There are so many people who they have a good weight, but they're miserable in their minds. They're just miserable. They're obsessed with food. They feel horrible. So yeah, you start to realize as you get older, you know what? I don't need to be a supermodel. What I really need is to just feel good and
Mhm.
just be sane.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the other thing too is when they've checked my blood pressure at these other doctor visits, it's been normal and not, it's usually high. So I've been very impressed on that.
Well, that's huge. That's huge because, a lot of people have it in their head, I have to lose every single pound before I can see some good results. And that's not true at all. People
Mm-mm.
ch- people have fairly dramatic medical changes in the first few weeks in terms of less pain, less digestive problems, better sleep, better energy, better mental clarity, and yeah, lower blood pressure and lower blood sugars. All of that happens very, very quickly. The body's very resilient. And
Mhm.
even with all the weight, we can just really feel transformed, which is so exciting.
Yep.
You don't have to wait to be some kind of, ideal BMI on some chart to really
Yeah.
feel transformed.
Well, I'm really anxious to go back to the doctor in August. So I'm just curious about all of it.
Oh yeah, and I think you'll be very pleasantly surprised, like we all are in this journey. Very, very pleasantly surprised. Um, So yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if there's anything else that you notice that you can share on in terms of good results. Anything else you were surprised about? Like, wow, I didn't think this would happen too, or anything else you like to share?
um, Not really. I guess the only thing is, I never really thought, uh, I just never really thought that I could be neutral with my food, I guess, where that I wasn't obsessed about it. Um, that's just been a big, I mean, there's times I just kind of want to pat myself on the back and say, you did it. So, I mean, other than that, I can't, and just the fact of feeling better means so much to me that that's one of the biggest things.
Well, but I'm glad you specifically talked about that term food, being neutral about food or food neutrality, because I do think that's the number one thing. And you had said this in another video session, and I love the way you talked about it. Um, People just can't believe that they're not going to be intense about wanting to eat food that's not healthy for them. They can't believe that they would stop having those physical and emotional and mental feelings and thoughts. They just can't believe that that could actually be real. And you were so cute when you were talking about it on that session, saying I was going, this isn't real. And the fact is, you were saying it is real and it is surprising. Um, and I like to really reassure people that that is the very, very normal response people have in recovery. That's what real recovery is. It's not white knuckling and wrestling with yourself and being good. I hate it when people say this. It's just a pet peeve of mine, Vicki. I don't know whether you've ever said it or not, but most food addicts say this. They say, I was good today. Oh, I was bad today. Or I was good and then I was bad. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, look, it's not about being good or bad. It's about
Right.
having an addiction. You're out of control. And then you, when you're out of the disease process and that horrible vicious cycle of the addiction process, then instead of being good, you're neutral. You don't have to, quote, win the war against the temptation.
Yeah.
It's there
It's
really is no more war. That's the beauty of it, and that's why you can do it long term. I don't think anyone can do the warring thing long term. I
well,
think the
yeah,
only way to have the long term recovery and to really feel happy inside is to not have the war anymore, right?
right. Yeah. And it is a war. That's true.
Yeah, and it's exhausting.
Yep.
And it's just it breaks people's spirit. It makes them hopeless and helpless and depressed, and for 100 reasons. So thank you for highlighting that. You're not just winning the war, you've basically quit the war.
Hmm.
The war is over,
Yes.
and that's why you can feel confident that this is something you can do for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
Otherwise, as a recovered food addict, I'd have to be honest and say there's no way I'm going to be fighting that battle for the rest of my life. If I think a lot of people are like me and can honestly say, I'm not sure that's a life worth living. If
Hmm.
I have to fight with food, 3, 4, 5 times a day, however many times you wind up eating, probably if you're a food addict who's a grazer, it's more like 10, 12, right? But
Right.
if you're in a war all day and all night, that doesn't feel like a life worth fighting
Right.
for. I'm not really sure I'm interested. I'd rather just, eat the food, die young, and see you next time.
Right. Well,
See you in the next life.
I kind of feel like if I hadn't taken this step, I would have died losing the war. Where to here now, I feel like I have won the war. If
Well,
that
that's
makes
even
sense.
better. Winning the war is even better.
Yeah. Right.
Win the
Yeah.
war. Victorious. You are victorious, Victoria. Okay, well, that's awesome. Well, so it sounds like you feel complete with your story. The only thing I always ask people is, as you very well know, people are petrified at the thought of trying another program, especially if they have, like most food addicts, not only spent a ton of time, but also a lot of money and a lot of energy,
Hmm.
running all around creation, trying to, you know, be perfect, of course, which never works. Um, Obviously people have tried and failed a lot of stuff, spent a lot of money, spent a lot of time, spent a lot of energy, have gone, put their body through a lot of stuff, right? So, I mean, it's a normal human reaction to be skeptical. It's a normal human reaction not to trust, to feel hopeless and helpless, to be petrified. So, what would you say to yourself or what can you say to these other people who are going, that would never work for me?
Well, I would say just take a deep breath and take the step, and you won't regret it. And first of all, to look in the mirror and actually tell yourself that you're worth it. You're worth every bit of it. And I know it's scary, but do it afraid and you'll end up happy.
I love that. Yep. I love that. Do it afraid. You can't always listen to your emotions. Sometimes your emotions are not your friend, right?
Right.
Sometimes they're telling you to avoid things you should not avoid. Sometimes they're telling you to not trust people you should trust, right? Sometimes those
Yeah.
voices are not telling you the truth, right? And that's hard. I know that's hard. As a trauma therapist, a depression therapist, I hate to invalidate people's fears and their feelings, but sometimes as a therapist, you have to tell people, doubt your doubts,
Yeah.
be distrustful of your mistrust. Sometimes you have to talk to yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and saying, you got to quit this not trusting everybody.
Right.
You've got to quit this helpless, hopeless talk. There is another truth out there.
Very true.
So thank you for that, Vickie. And so just to let everyone know, the first step of Vickie's journey is available to you right now. We offer free calls, 1 hour calls, to anyone who is serious about professional help for food addiction today. Now, these calls are not for everyone. They're not for people who are just looking for a couple tips some kind of one size fits all plan. The fact is, real professional help means we need to get to know you. We need to figure out what you're eating, what works for your body. We need to talk to you about your life. We need to support you. We can't just give you a tip or a trick. This is a disease that's complex and it's killing you. So if you're looking for just a band-aid, this is not the call for you. If you're interested in real professional help that will offer you a solution and a lovely supportive tribe for the rest of your life, then this call is for you. It's free. We basically just ask you what's going wrong with your food and your health right now. What are your goals? We ask you some questions to make sure that you are a candidate for our services. And if we think we can help you, we do tell you what we do. And if we don't think we can help you, we will be honest with you and we will tell you that we cannot help you and hopefully steer you someplace better. But either way, I think it's going to be the best hour you've ever spent getting clear and getting real about food addiction. And so I'll put in the comment sections on in the comment section on Facebook, I will put a link for you to schedule that call, or you can just go to amybethcall.com. So that's Amy, A-M-Y, Beth, B-E-T-H, call, C-A-L-L.com. amybethcall.com. And we sure look forward to helping you if we can help you. And Vickie, thank you so much again for being such a bright, shiny star in our tribe. I'm so glad you're going to stick with us, be a graduate mentor, help other people, which is just a free and optional part of our program for graduates. And but we're just so glad that you're not going anywhere. So
I'm
thanks
glad.
for doing this.
Thank you.